final round of stroke play for the 2024 United States Amateur. We're currently one off the cut line at even par. Let's try to make a push for that match play spot. I hope you guys enjoy.
Round 2 is the 124th U.S. Amateur Championship conducted by the United States Golf Association and hosted by Hazeltine National Golf Club. This is the 7 o'clock a.m. tee time. From Winter Garden, Florida, please welcome Evan Thompson.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the channel and welcome to the final round of stroke play here at the United States Amateur playing Hazeltine National starting on hole 10. So stoked to bring you guys along through all 18 holes of every shot, my thoughts, and how we manage the golf course. So I'm super excited to bring you guys this voiceover as we go into my round here. So we have first tee shot of the day at 7 a.m. That was probably the earliest I've ever started, and just looking forward to getting it off on the right start. We had about a 4 a.m. wake-up call today. Dogleg left, par 4. I hit 2-iron off the tee. This drive really doesn't call for driver here, and had about a pitching wedge in with the most beautiful background. We have about 140 left to the pin, and this pin was almost impossible to get to. It was on a top ridge, can't miss it right, can't short side yourself, and put ourselves in a beautiful position to go ahead and make our first birdie of the day. We had about 25 feet swinging right to left. I think the biggest thing with big rounds and big tournaments is just get that first par or first putt under your belt. And I was super happy with how that putt went just left of the hole. Kind of misread it, but we had perfect speed and can't really have much stress to start the first hole. So we start off with a par on hole 1 there. That was pretty solid. You guys thoroughly enjoyed the voiceover that I did at the Monroe Invitational last week, so I wanted to do something very similar for you guys as we head into our second hole. Hole 11 here, dogleg right, par 5, playing about 630 yards. We still got those first tee jitters in us and some adrenaline pumping, and this is always our miss right here. Try to hit that cut peeler off the left side of the fairway and just pulled it with no cut at all. It's going to hit these mounds right here and actually creep into the left side of the fairway. With this angle, it leaves us with like 315 yards or so left, so wanted to lay it up to a great wedge number. I think par 5s, if you don't have a chance to go for it, you have to be precise with your layup and just know where your best wedge number is. And for me, that's around 100 to 130. So we put it to about 125 yards left. We knew what this pin was, back right or back center, and just had a 54 degree from 128 here. Wanted to take you guys through. I look right here, it looks like I'm aimed a little right. I tried to draw this one in and just stayed right where we were aiming. We were aiming at one of the trees in the background and just kind of pushed it out to the right with no draw. Absolutely perfect number, 20 feet away for our first birdie of the day. So let's go. We got a par 5. This would be huge to capitalize, and still with those nerves and those jitters, obviously the biggest tournament I've played, I felt that extremely, and left that 20-foot putt about 2.5, 3 feet short. Obviously not ideal there, but at the end of the day, if you can make those and you can come out with a par at the USAM, par is never going to hurt. Moving on to hole 12 here. It's usually a par 5, but they modified it into a very long par 4. Very tight tee shot here. Bunkers right, deep rough to the left, and I'm going to be honest here, I haven't had one of these swings in a very long time. Almost missed the ball. And with about 100, 200 people watching behind me, that would have been probably one of the most embarrassing thing I've ever seen. You can even check out these numbers. Carried it 172 yards. That was not very good. I was pretty embarrassed, and the nerves actually started getting higher here. I had absolutely no shot. I think we had like 270 yards left, so I just tried to punch out a gap wedge outside of that rough and back into that fairway there. Try to leave ourselves with at least a wedge in to get ourselves up and down for par. I felt as though watching this video back, I was aiming way too far right, and that's my miss when I get, I guess, nervous or anxious, is I aim too far right and just try to pull it to my target. That's another wedge that was absolutely perfect distance, just 20 feet to the right. And I just wanted to go over this right now. These greens were rolling at 14s. I've never played greens like that. You're going to see it right here. I hit this about maybe 5 feet, and this putt barely misses and rolls another 5 feet by. It's insane how good these conditions were here at Hazeltine. We have our bogey putt here on hole 12, and snuck out of there with a bogey, thankfully, from that drive. That was a good save. I'm gonna be honest. There's a few things that I like to do, and it's definitely keep doubles off the board. Moving on here to hole 13, par 3, 205 yards straight to the pin. Back left pin. This is a no-go. We're aiming straight for the middle of the green, and my brain always has an issue aiming right of targets, and we actually try almost go right at it. Lands about 3 yards right of the flag and hit an absolute beauty there. That was our miss. If you're going to miss in the right spot, and we did there. We got about 8 feet left down the hill, and look how soft I hit this putt. I mean, I barely hit it, and it that's one of the ones that I wish I could have had right there looking back at this round. Barely hits the left side of the lip, low side, and goes about 4 feet past. No idea how that went that far past, but trying to make this adjustment from Chaska to Hazeltine. These greens are way faster, and we just going to sneak our par putt in there and stay at 1 over par through 4 holes. So, honestly, not the worst start. Actually, Hazeltine is playing 76.5 scoring average. So that's 4 over par for the field at the USAM. And we're going to move straight into hole 14. This is a short par 4. Sometimes they make it drivable. I tried to pull out iron here. This was full iron for me. I pulled this big time. My target was just right of the green and pulled it about 20 yards left. And this is the rough that I'm talking about. How thick this lie. This was almost an impossible lie to get this onto the green. It was so thick, really juicy in there, and I just felt it right when I hit it come out nowhere and actually hit a tree just left of where I was. You can't see the branches hanging, and left ourselves with almost another impossible shot. Have to hit up and over a bunker to a short-sided flag. Pretty impressed with that one with a tight lie. Opened up the face, tried to swipe at it, and I feel like I always get left in these situations in tournaments outside of casual play, like on these edges of rough and fringe. This was a very interesting par putt here. With those not so good shots, I am happy to have a par putt, honestly, and just try to get the speed right on this because I didn't really know how it was going to come out. A lot of people like Texas wedge these lies, these funky lies when it sits on the collar there, and I was just happy to get the speed right. In this moment right here, I'm gonna be honest, boys, I truly started to feel the pressure of not starting off on the right foot, especially because we shot 1 over yesterday at Chaska and the cut was around even par. So I knew I had to fire a low one today, and for it not to start on the right foot, I knew I had some tough holes coming up, so I wanted to just feel like I get it back in one swing, and you cannot do that in tournament golf. You have to stay patient, and it kind of rubbed off on this drive here. Whenever I start forcing things, my swing gets quick, my tempo gets off, and that's one thing I want to continue to improve on as we keep going on this journey, as we keep getting better and better and maximizing our potential in this game. We're playing the par 5 here. I think this is the longest hole on the golf course. I think it's 641 yards. As you can see, trying to work on my setup, trying to get the swing down, trying to get the breathing going. I think that's one thing I get so amped up playing football, coming from football. When things go wrong, you can use adrenaline to your advantage, but in golf, you can't. That's one thing I feel like I need to work on, and I'm going to share it with you guys because I know a lot of people are in the same position coming from other sports. 642-yard par 5. I was in the rough off the tee. Put it to a great number, 148. I used a pitching wedge here and just went dead aim right at the flag. Me and my caddy were like, dude, you're already 2 over, so we need to make a birdie. Absolutely perfect dart. Pitching wedge is one of my go-to clubs, and landed this right at the flag, and always got to fill in your divots when you got bluegrass. Got about, I think, 12 feet right to left putt. Absolutely beautiful spot to be on the green. Was rocking and rolling, just really trying to work on the tempo here, and this putt did not break a muscle. As you can see, very confused as I look back. And one of the local rules I wanted to share with you guys is you couldn't use any green reading materials, even notes on your scorecard on the greens. So I felt like I always write down breaks and slopes, and I feel like I didn't have my best stuff on the greens today at Hazeltine because of that local rule. You got to modify, your preparation sometimes, and that was definitely a rule that hindered some of the green reading there. So we're going to move on to the hardest hole on the golf course. This is the most scenic to Hazeltine National, 400-yard par 4. It's risk reward, water down the right, creek down the left. So I decided to pull out 2-iron here and pulled it just a hair off my line. Maybe, honestly, 5 to 10 yards left of my target. Hits in the fairway, hits in the rough, and then finds the left creek. So this is actually our third shot heading into this green here. Had a 50 degree from 128 yards. Tried to take the spin off and stay below the hole because there's a huge backstop behind it. If you had a lot of spin, it is coming off the front of the green. And push this one right again. That's the third wedge that I've hit right of the target. And then when I was walking up the green, I saw my buddy Luke Glanton. He is absolutely on a tear. If you don't know who Luke is, I highly suggest you look him up. If you know the game of golf, the tear he's on right now is insane. Big shout out to him as he goes forward in his career. Back to our round here. This leads us to our 22-foot par putt and barely missed it on the right side. Just did not have the correct speed. This leads us to a very tricky bogey putt, left to right putt, down the hill, 3-footer, and I'm going to be honest, I feel like I always miss these in competitive play. I don't know if it's me trying to guide it there or me trying to make it before I even hit the putt. Don't know what that is. Missed the bogey putt, and we're going to tap in here for double bogey, bringing us to 4 over par for the day. And I'm going to be honest, the rest of these holes that you watch me play taught me more about who I am as a person, as a player, battling this adversity of not having my best stuff tee to green and on the greens. Hole 17 to hole 9, I was thoroughly impressed with how I handled this. I think that's one thing that's going to make me a better player in the long run, is just slapping adversity in the face, not having my best stuff, and be like, look, we can weather the storm, we can get out of here, and we can still make an impact and play our best golf moving forward. So we got a par 3 here, hole 17, playing 187 yards. I hit an 8-iron just right of this pin, and this green was very funky. If you watched on TV coverage any bit about the USAM, there's a huge ridge in the front, so I got that on the proper level and just sent that birdie putt a hair past it. I think the biggest problem today was having stress on almost every single par putt. If you look, it's not like a normal tap in. I had to mark the ball, and I had to, readjust my line and go into my routine. If I can tap it in or make birdies, it saves a lot of mental energy and stress. So we're going to move into hole 18 here, our 9th hole of the day. 482 yards to be exact to the flag. This really didn't suit my driver well. If you look onto a course map or the yardage book, 300 to 350 yards is very sloped downhill. You'll see it on the next shot here, and with the rough, it honestly calls for a 2-iron and just play the hole to my strength. So 2-iron, and then I only had about 200 yards left. I had a 6-iron here from about 206, and maybe one of the worst swings I've had in a very long time. I think I hit this almost to the clubhouse. That's how bad it was. We had a very tough and interesting shot here, 30 yards left of the green, and pulled off an absolute beauty. With some of the guys watching from the clubhouse and a bunch of the fans behind, almost freaking made it. Let's go. That was a huge momentum boost in my round. I feel as though these are massive to capitalize on. Shots that you pull off or momentum swingers you have to take advantage of. And I'm going to be honest, this was a huge turnaround to the round, not only because it was a great shot, but just because of the mental fortitude to put the last couple holes behind me and walk out of the 9th hole with the par. Walking off the 9th green here, 4 over par 40 on the back 9, our front 9. And the toughest thing about social media and content creation is that people just see the results, or the audience just see the numbers of what you shoot. And I want to be the guy that shows the ups and the downs and the in-betweens, and just be transparent that this is the hardest game in the world. And especially at a track like this, the USGA sets it up so tough. You're going to have those days, and today was one of them. So I just went to my caddy. I said, let's just play a different round. Let's play a new round of golf. This front nine is a completely different day, completely different round. And I feel like that is one of my strengths of my game. My mental game I can put up against some of the best in the world. No matter how I'm playing, 6 under or 6 over, I'm going to keep the same mindset. Just go out there, have fun, and just play it to the best of my abilities, and just give all the glory to God. So we have a par 4, number 1 here, 432 yards. Hit 2-iron off the tee, and it barely caught the left rough, and our videographer didn't capture the second shot. And I just want to throw this clip in here because I appreciate and I'm so grateful for each and every person that came out and watched me in Chaska, Minnesota. You know, I don't really get to see many fans or connect with the audience much, and this was what put it all in perspective. This is what I do it for people that are chasing their dream, and I really appreciate you guys. About 100, 200 people came and watched and walked alongside me the whole round, and I truly appreciate you guys. First hole here, we caught our chip shot a little skinny and really had a tough putt for par up and over the hill. Ended up bogeying the first hole. But honestly, I just felt like this 9 was going to be different. I don't know why. I was a little bit more comfortable, kind of hit the reset button after the 9th hole and tap in for bogey here on hole number 1. Moving on to the second hole, our 11th hole of the day. This is another one. Dogleg left, doesn't call for driver. This course just sets up perfectly for the 2-iron. It was rolling to about 280 to 320 yards all day today, which is insane how firm the green or how firm the fairways are. It usually carries about 260, but it was rolling like crazy. This is an example. That bunker right there that's to my right was 320 yards to get to, and we almost got it with the 2-iron. We had about 115 yards left to the flag and hit a 60-degree just left of it. And with this rough, it's so hard to control the spin. That actually released 30 feet more than we thought, and have actually a decent look at birdie. Still not super close. We only had about, two looks or so right now that were inside 20 feet. But other than that, I hit a beautiful putt here, I thought, and just did not judge the speed correctly. Here's another par that leaves us with a little tester, about 2.5, 3 feet. And especially when you play a big-time tournament, this is not where you want to be. Wasting so much energy on these putts and the routine, and just, yeah, not ideal. But we're going to tap in there for par. That brings us to 5 over for the tournament, or 5 over for the day. And we coming up to a par 5. I told my caddy, I said, I have to give this one a rip. Try to get there in 2 and pull this one big time. When I try to go after it, my miss is always left. I think I get quick in the downswing and put ourselves in a horrible position to go for it or even have a decent birdie look. This was right next to the cart path. Had to try to hook a 7-iron or up and around the tree with limbs in the way that you guys couldn't see, and had an awful punch out. Just caught the rough. It's not going to roll through there, and had 226 yards still for our third shot into this par 5. These were playing beasts. I actually hit an 8-iron, believe it or not, from here, just because we were just trying to carry that front bunker, and the ball was flying out of this rough, and it was actually insane that I got this there. 8-iron usually for me carries about like 185, 180-ish, and it jumped about 20 yards and put us in a decent spot actually for birdie, which is crazy from that drive. That's why you never count yourself out in golf, because things like this happen. It was a little up the hill, right to left, and I just feel like in this moment I was like, all right, let's just get one in. Let's just get one. So I made a great stroke at it, and I felt like I just stayed in my posture really well and barely missed it on the right side. There's another great look at birdie. At Hazeltine, you're not really going to have many, but again, another stressful par. This one actually rolled out quite a bit past the hole, even though we almost made it on the right side. It still had, 2.5, 3 feet. And that's something that I really need to work on. Speed control in tournaments, especially when I play super fast greens. Like I said before, 14s on the stem, and went ahead and grabbed another par there, bring us a 5 over through the 13th. Fourth hole, 194-yard par 3, 7-iron here. The only thing I wanted to do was carry that front bunker and absolutely chunked this 7-iron big time. We landed up about 10 to 15 yards short and had a very delicate chip shot. But you know what? Had to show off the short game a little bit. I always like to keep the ball super low and use the slopes, and this was right up my alley. Used the slope perfectly and almost got it to go in. Would have been the second chip in of the tournament, and just put it to about 3 feet. And this is when a lot of people actually started coming out to watch, which was pretty cool. We almost had a big roar there. And this was actually the first time I've played in front of a large, decent amount of people. Let me tell you, that is not the easiest thing to do, especially at the USAM. There's no ropes involved, so people can be right next to you. The ropes are just on the tee box and the greens. That's going to move us to the 5th hole, 441 yards. I thought about hitting driver here, but then again, driver brings in way too much trouble. The trees, the bunkers, out of bounds, and just went with a 2-iron here and did the same exact thing with a bad swing. Ended up pulling this into the left rough and had an awful lie. There's again Hazeltine National, the USGA setting this course up really tough. This was a very nasty lie. We thought it was going to jump. We hit pitching wedge from 185 yards, but it came out straight right into the bunker and short-sided ourselves so bad. We had to pull off like a really saucy shot in this bunker, just tried to open the face and add a lot of speed and spin it, but just carried it way too far, leaving ourselves with a very unlikely par. But I told Corey, I said, if there's anything that happens, it's a chip in on this shot right here. So open the face, and I felt like I was pretty good chipping out of the rough this week and almost got that one to go in. That would have been crazy to have back-to-back chip-ins. Here's a moment my videographer caught of me just staring off the space. I think if there's one thing golf does, it brings out all the emotions. Good, bad, and different. If you learn how to handle them the right way, you'll be pretty successful. Just watch Scotty Scheffler. He just says he's having fun, and he's pretty resilient with his emotions, and something that, you know, I feel like I have a good mental game, but I'm a very emotional player. I feel like the ups are very up and the downs are very down. This is leading us into hole 6. This is a very interesting par 4. It's a straight dog to the left, short one, but you have to be accurate off the tee. It calls for an iron, and just roasted that 2-iron down the hill and put it in an A+ position. The only two things you can control in life are your attitude and your effort, and with 4 holes remaining being 6 over par, those are really the only two things I wanted to do. I wanted to control a great attitude, and I wanted to give my best effort and finish this round off strong. So I really wanted to just grab a birdie somewhere. We are birdie-less today. We haven't had one of those rounds in a very, very long time. Hazeltine bent us over today, which unfortunately happens, but that's golf. We had a birdie luck here from about 25, 30 feet. And again, it's very tough to judge the speed of these greens with how slopey and how fast they were, but actually finally tapped one in. Finally, like, didn't have much stress on that par. And moving on here to the last 3 holes remaining, I told Corey if I could play them even or better, I would be happy and walk off the 18th or the 9th green with my head up high. So par 5 here, the shortest one on the course, which is crazy, 575 yards. And again, pulled the driver left. We had the lefts all day today. Did not make the adjustment, unfortunately. Mid-round adjustments are always the toughest for me to make. I feel like I always go back to like old habits or a go-to swing instead of fixing my swing mid-round, which I need to work on. I need to go back to the drawing boards, and we actually had to lay up here on this par 5, try to put it around 100 to 115 yards. That's exactly what we did. And looking back on this video, here I am again, aiming so far right of this flag, and I need to be better. Alignment is king in golf, and had this yardage perfectly. Landed it hole high, spun it back below the hole, but we are still 20, 30 feet right of the pin. And honestly, when you're competing at the big stage, especially at the biggest amateur event in the world, you got to be sharp with your wedges. And let us with like a 20-footer, 15-footer for the birdie, and tried to roll this one in. Told Corey, I said, I got to make one sooner or later. And again, misread this, missed it on the low side. Had another par putt about 2.5, 3 feet, using a lot of mental energy today. And honestly, this is going to show me a lot about my game, competing at the biggest level, and what I need to work on. I'm ultimately a big student of the game. Coming from my football background, I love to take film and improve on it and see what I can do better. So I guarantee you we're going to make a bunch of improvements going forward, and I really appreciate you guys' support. We got our second to last hole today, hole number 8, 175 yards, straight to the flag, and I thought I made it. I thought we made a hole-in-one from my perspective, but landed it 10 to 12 feet past the pin. And yeah, I just wanted to end it off right, and I wanted to give a huge shout-out to these people right here. These are some of my best friends from back home, and my fiance that came out, that flew all the way from Orlando and Atlanta to come support me. If there's any advice I have, it's to get that support in that corner that supports you no matter what. And I truly appreciate, just want to give them a big shout out, because I feel like I would not be in this position if it wasn't for the people that love and support and that push me to chase my dreams. Bring you back to golf. We have our birdie putt here, 12 feet right to left down the hill, and look how fast these greens are getting. I could not believe it. I probably hit this putt about 6 feet, and it rolled to about 16 or 18, leaving us with about a 4-foot par putt. And once again, say what's up to my boy Luke Glanton. He was coming off a bender of going 4 PGA Tour events, red-eye to the USAM, and made it through, which is insane. Big shout out to him. Go look him up. Go look up my boy Luke Glanton. He's one of the special ones in the game of golf right now. And a par putt here on the 8th hole. Snuck it in there, and I'm going to be honest, I walked through the gallery into my videographer, and I said, if I don't birdie this hole, I might be quitting golf. We have our 9th hole, 430-yard par 4. Once again, brought 2-iron. As you can see, it kind of closes in around 300 to 320, where my driver would be, and absolutely roasted this 2-iron. I think this thing went 310, 320 yards. That bunker on the left there that I'm equal with, to carry that was 318. So that was insane. I was juiced up all day, and here we go again, aiming right with my wedges. That looks like a common theme today, and pulling it back to the target. This one we actually hit it decent, right at the hole, just a little bit long, and threw an absolute dart to end the day, which I was pretty happy with. I just wanted to end it off strong and just keep myself in a good headspace finishing the 2024 USAM. Have an absolute incredible look at birdie here on our final hole at the USAM. A little bit right to left down the hill. We tried to get this one to go and barely missed it again. Going birdieless in our final round of the USAM. But ultimately, golf like this happens, and it's how you come back, it's how you respond, and I really appreciate each and every one of you for the support over the last few months, going 68 in local qualifying to 68 in final qualifying, and making our biggest goal of the year, the USAM. Finishing up here with a 78 here at Hazeltine National, going 71, 78 for a +7, missing the match play by about 7 shots. But your biggest losses are also your biggest lessons. There's going to be a ton of great stuff that comes from this week. I'm just extremely grateful to be in this position, to compete at such a high level and be a part of the biggest and best amateurs in the world. If you guys like this style of video, just please leave a comment, subscribe to the channel. We got a ton of biggest creators in the world, as well as professional golfers coming to the channel. I appreciate you guys so much for the support. This has been an absolute dream come true. 2024 US Amateur finishing up. As always, thanks guys for joining. I'll see you next time. Peace.